Hey friends, welcome back to Her Strength in Him. I'm your host, V, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. I hope that your week has been going well. My last week was magnificent, but also very, very exhausting. I am coming off of a week where we had count them, 1, 2, 3 birthday celebrations. So my social battery is kaput. But that's okay. I'm still here with you. So let's talk about love that requires some serious commitment and some serious effort. And to help us along, we're going to look at the story of Jacob and Rachel. It's a whole vibe of perseverance, patience, and trust in God's plan. So I encourage you to grab your Bible, or you can just listen in as we dive into Genesis chapter 29, and we're going to be reading verses 10 through 30. And we're going to uncover how Jacob and Rachel's love story teaches us about commitment, sacrifice, and faith. Let's get started. It reads, "When Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob went up and rolled the stone from the mouth of the well, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted his voice and wept. Jacob told Rachel that he was a relative of her father, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. So when Laban heard the news of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him, and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Then he related to Laban all these things. Laban said to him, 'Surely you are my bone and my flesh,' and he stayed with him a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, 'Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?' Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful of form and face. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, 'I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel.' Laban said, 'It is better that I give her to you than to give her to another man. Stay with me.' So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, 'Give me my wife, for my time is completed, that I may go into her.' Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. Now in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to him, and Jacob went into her. Laban also gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a maid. So it came about in the evening that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, 'What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served with you? Why then have you deceived me?' But Laban said, 'It is not the practice in our place to marry off the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you shall serve with me for another 7 years.' Jacob did so and completed her week, and he gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maid. So Jacob went into Rachel also, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban for another 7 years. Something that I find interesting here that we won't dive into maybe for another time, but Jacob was once the deceiver, and now he has been deceived by Rachel's dad. But again, story for another time. So let's start with the basics. Jacob was the grandson of Abraham, who was chosen by God to carry on the covenant. But let's be real, Jacob's journey was anything but smooth. And I encourage you to go back and read Jacob's story as well. After deceiving his brother Esau, he fled to the home of his uncle Laban, where he met Rachel. And Rachel wasn't just anyone. Genesis describes her as beautiful of form and face. And for Jacob, it was love at first sight. If you can think back to when you first saw that person that you were absolutely enamored with and the butterflies that you must have felt at that moment. That's what Jacob was feeling now. He was so captivated by her that he agreed to work for her father for 7 years just to marry her. So let's pause for a moment and let's look at Genesis chapter 29, verse 10. And again it reads, "When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his uncle Laban, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep." Here, Jacob shows love in action. Without hesitation, he serves Rachel by rolling away the heavy stone and watering the sheep. This moment reflects his willingness to put in effort and care for her even before they were in a relationship. So, how can that translate to today? Well, fellas, I think it's pretty clear. You got to start rolling away those heavy stones. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But seriously, though, for the married folks out there, look for small, everyday ways that you can serve your spouse. A simple act of kindness can make a big difference. And for the single folks, consider how you can serve others selflessly in this season, cultivating a servant's heart for the future. Okay, let's keep going. What's the significance of Jacob and Rachel's marriage? Well, their marriage is a beautiful picture of two things: commitment and work. And to highlight this, let's go back to Genesis 29, verse 18, where it says, "Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, 'I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter Rachel.'" You see, Jacob's offer to work for 7 years shows the depth of his commitment. He didn't just talk about loving Rachel, he showed it through his willingness to sacrifice and labor for her. This should remind us that love is not passive, it's active, and it's enduring. So, for the married folks out there, what is it that you're willing to do or to work for in your relationship? Is there a specific area where you can invest more time and effort to grow together? Maybe it's washing the dishes proactively instead of hoping that the other will do it. Maybe it's filling the gas tank so that your spouse doesn't have to do it. Or maybe it's being vulnerable and talking through the uncomfortable stuff to grow stronger together. And for the single folks, reflect on how you're preparing for a future relationship. Are you cultivating the character and resilience needed for a Christ-centered partnership? Let's move on to Genesis 29, verse 20, where it says, "So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her." Golly, this verse is a reminder that love brings joy, even in the midst of hard work. Jacob didn't view the years of labor as a burden because his love for Rachel gave him purpose and fulfillment. So, for the married folks out there, let's approach the work of marriage with joy. Remember that the effort you put in now is building something beautiful for the future. And for the single folks, let your love for God bring joy to your waiting season. I know that it's not easy to wait and to not know what is coming, but trust that God is preparing you for something amazing. So, what can we learn from Jacob and Rachel? Well, for married couples, their story is a call to work together through challenges. Maybe it's time to reconnect with your spouse and ask, what's one thing we can do to strengthen our relationship this week? Whether it's tackling finances, improving communication, deciding on a paint color for the living room, or just dreaming about the future. Make it a team effort. Maybe it's time to revisit those date nights or work together on a shared goal. Take a step this week to build something meaningful together. And for the single Pringles out there, Rachel's story is a reminder to trust God's timing. Let's be honest, waiting can feel like forever, But Rachel didn't rush or take shortcuts. She waited as Jacob worked, trusting that God was at work too. Let this be your reminder that love is about preparation as much as it is about timing. Maybe this week, commit to growing in patience, or growing in kindness, or just growing to trust. Trust that God is working behind the scenes just as he did for Jacob and Rachel. Because think, what if this season of waiting is preparing you for something greater? Focus on growing in your relationship with God and becoming the person that he's calling you to be. Well, that just about wraps up our episode for today, and I hope that you're inspired by the story of Jacob and Rachel. Their story reminds us to love with intention, trust in God's timing, and work through life's challenges with faith. This week, I encourage you to meditate on the themes derived from Jacob and Rachel's story and how you can incorporate them into your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections with me on the socials at Facebook at Her Strength in Him or on Instagram at Her Strength Podcast. And don't forget to do all the things: comment, share, subscribe, follow. Thank you so much for joining me on Her Strength in Him. Now, let's go out and live as a reflection of His strength in us. Until next time, friends.